there was a study on placebo versus Aronia. It was a 3-month study. A lot of this research is done in Europe, as I said, because Aronia is just not as well known in the US. And what they found is a whopping increased dilation of blood flow. Let's just say it improved circulation about 10 times better than the placebo group. When
Wow.
they looked at reducing triglycerides, I'm not all about cholesterol reduction. I don't think that the
Right.
total number really tells the story, but I do believe the triglycerides are troublesome and that a reduction for most people, especially if you're carrying a few extra pounds, is a good thing. In only 1 month of use of Aronia berry, they saw a 22% reduction in triglyceride levels. There's three major things that contribute to chronic disease or cause chronic disease and facilitate or accelerate the aging process. And that's chronic inflammation, exposure to toxins, and then a part of that exposure to toxins is having a liver that doesn't detoxify very efficiently or rapidly. So you have an increased exposure. And the third is oxidative stress.
Welcome, folks, to episode 145 here on the Healthy Habit Podcast. Welcome back here. I'm your host, Dr. Dayan of Healthy Habit Medical Center. And checking in with us here this week is Cheryl Myers, Chief of Scientific Affairs for EuroPharma, Inc., which is she's a healthcare professional with certifications in cancer, pain control, and issues of aging. Cheryl's an expert in dietary supplements and natural medicines who's been a featured guest on hundreds of radio and television shows. Cheryl's a member of the editorial board of the Natural Medicine Journal, and her own published research has included topics such as menopause, diabetes, sleep disorders, and digestive health. And today we're talking all things Aronia Berry Complex, folks. I just took my capsule before going on the air here. So, Cheryl, the stage is yours. Set the stage here on Aronia Berry.
Well, this is probably a berry that most people have not heard of. I mean, we're used to the sweet berries like your blueberries and your strawberries and your raspberries. And we also know that those berries contain a huge amount of polyphenols and nutrients that are so, so good for us. Lots and lots of health benefits with berries. However, the aronia berry is very tart and a little bit puckery. So it's not something you would probably just harvest and eat off the bush. And therefore, it is not grown as widespread in the United States. It's probably much better known in Europe, where it is indeed used as a food, but more with like with some sugar and sort of things added, which is not something that most of us are interested in doing here. But it turns out that aronia berry has ridiculous levels of antioxidant power and has a lot of clinical studies looking at the types of problems that occur in the body with lots of free radical damage. It is versatile. It's really powerful. I think you would call it a superfruit. I mentioned polyphenols before. All plants have some levels of polyphenols and they're all
Right.
different. There's over 1,000 different polyphenols that have been um, identified, and they all work a little bit differently. And human beings eat a hopefully wide variety of food. There's not just a one size fits all food. It's not like we can all just chow down on oranges 3 times a day and live long and healthy lives.
Right.
So when we look at this wide variety of plant polyphenols, we do need a lot of different kinds because they're not always identical. Now, if polyphenol is a new term for you folks that are listening, we talk about the most important dietary nutrients are macronutrients. You have to have protein, carbohydrates, and fats, right? You have to eat food to stay alive and grow and thrive and prosper. The second most important is the micronutrients, like your vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin
Right.
D. If you don't get enough of those, you're going to end up with deficiency syndromes and you probably die. So we've got to make sure that we have enough vitamin C, that we don't have scurvy. But the third most important that most people haven't heard of after that are polyphenols.
Okay.
So there's one quote that I really like. It says, "You will not die as quickly from the lack of polyphenols as the lack of other essential classes of nutrients, but you cannot live a long and healthy life without them."
Right.
That is why scientists call them lifespan essentials. And the polyphenols in aronia berry, the grouping of polyphenols that we find there, are very unique and extraordinarily powerful.
Incredible. What a great segue. Thanks for setting the stage for our topic here today. And like you said, here I'll put for the YouTube viewers, I'll show a little picture here of that's what the Aronia berry looks like. This is a book by Mr. Terry Lemron and Ajay Goel. Aronia berries, nature's healing treasure for chronic or against chronic diseases. It kind of looks like blueberries, but this
It
isn't something
does.
you can just walk into the grocery store and buy by the pint, right, and eat. Correct?
No, no. As I said, they're not actually not that well known in the United States. Sometimes they call, there's a folk name for them that sometimes they are, also called black chokeberry. And so
Oh,
somebody might know it by black choke because they're very dark, as you showed from the picture in the book, that they are so dark blue purple that they're almost black.
exactly. And that's a testament to how rich in polyphenols in these chronic disease fighters this berry is really. So then let's differentiate real quick. And I know in Terry's newsletter here we have a comparison, and even on the actual bottle of the Aronia Berry Complex, between something like strawberries, blueberries, even cranberries, and then Aronia berries. It's not even close when it comes to their ORAC value. So let's hit on that for a moment.
You know, well, the way that there's more than one way to determine the antioxidant value of a food.
Right.
The United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, use something called ORAC values, and that stands for oxygen radical absorbance capacity. And they assign excuse me, ORAC values to food per 100 grams. So they looked at things like organic blueberries, bilberries, lingonberries, tart cherries. They look at all these and they assign them a specific ORAC value. Well, the ORAC value for 100 grams of Aronia just blew everything else out of the water. It's the highest of all the berries. As I said, it is a super, super potent antioxidant. Now, I know we use the word antioxidant pretty freely. Sometimes, there's antioxidants everywhere, right? Vitamin C is an antioxidant. I mean,
Right.
heck, soda companies put antioxidants in their sodas. They're everywhere. So I think sometimes we forget their value. There's three major things that contribute to chronic disease or cause chronic disease and facilitate or accelerate the aging process. And that's chronic inflammation, exposure to toxins, and then a part of that exposure to toxins is having a liver that doesn't detoxify very, very efficiently or rapidly. So you have an increased exposure. And the third is oxidative stress. When
Right.
you look at, for example, Parkinson's disease, that's what triggers it. One of the hallmarks of Parkinson's disease is high levels of oxidative stress and oxidative or free radical damage to the substantia nigra in the brain, which is the part that controls voluntary movement. That's why we see some issues with Parkinson's disease and voluntary movement.
Mm.
But, when you look at all of these chronic diseases, when we see a lot of different types of heart disease, what's the first step? What is one of the first things we see? Free radical damage, oxidative stress causes inflammation, causes tissue damage. Next thing you know, you've got an illness. And so, if we can get back to the root of the problem, if we can get a lot of really not just your average garden variety
Yeah.
antioxidants, but if we can get some of the powerhouses on board every single day, think of the different ways that you could help not only with prevention of chronic disease, but helping to have a healthier aging process as well.
Right, because you can see chronic inflammation's a root issue when it comes to different types of cancers and high blood
Hmm.
pressure and kidney issues and all that type of stuff. And we're not here to provide medical advice, take this or take that, but this is
Right.
just what the research is showing, right, Cheryl?
Absolutely. In fact, oxidative stress is implicated in every single disease condition. So helping the body deal with oxidative stress, and it doesn't always come from outside of us.
Right.
Sometimes it does, like smoking. If you smoke cigarettes, smoking creates a huge amount of oxidative stress in your body. If you're exposed to radiation, radiation creates oxidative stress in your body. If you're exposed to certain types of toxins, that creates oxidative stress. But being alive creates oxidative stress.
Right.
And if you are, so our bodies are made to, we're it's constantly in cycle, right? We have oxidative stress, the antioxidants quench it, they put out the fire, and then we create more oxidative stress, and we use more antioxidants to put out the fire, and we just keep cycling, cycling, cycling. Have you ever wondered why sometimes super athletes have a lot of health problems
Mm,
or they
interesting.
don't live as long? Like you would think, like these ultra marathoners that,
Right.
can run miles and miles and miles and miles, and they have about 2% body fat and they eat great food, and then they drop dead of a heart attack at 72. A lot of that has to do with the fact that extreme athleticism creates higher levels of
Right.
oxidative stress. So while everybody needs things like Aronia on board every day, the folks that are really active, either they have a very active lifestyle, maybe they're in a job that requires huge amounts of activity, or they're really involved in a lot of elite sports, they create even higher levels of oxidative stress. And so they even they use them up faster. They
Yes.
use up their antioxidants so fast, they need to replenish them every single day.
And I'm just going to do a quick screen share here. This is straight from terrynaturallyvitamins.com. And we're looking at the Aronia Berry Complex here. And as it says right here on the box, blood pressure, cholesterol balance, cellular protection. Why is that so important? Cellular, getting right down to the cells, which make up
Right?
every single tissue and organ of our system.
Absolutely. So when we look at the way that oxidative stress causes damage, it's because oxidative stress creates something called free radicals. And
Yeah,
free radicals are not our friends. Free radicals damage cells. So if you can protect the cells from that free radical damage, then you set yourself up for a longer and healthier lifespan. That's for sure.
great explanation. And then you can see here, this is not just, let me exit this one out. This isn't just purely Aronia berry in this product. Okay, you can see here we have both, of course, the French grapeseed extract in there. It's like a 1-2 punch here. And
Oh
according
gosh,
to
yes.
Terry's newsletter here, this is two of the most important, it says here, two key botanicals for healthy aging and a long life. Let's talk about that combination. Why is the grapeseed extract added in as well?
Well, that it is also a super berry in and of its own way, even though it's from grape seed.
Right.
It contains compounds called oligomeric proanthocyanidins. Say that three times fast, right? I don't know who
Right.
names these things, but they're hard for people to understand. But we call them OPCs. There's no OPCs in Aronia. There's a huge amount in grapeseed extract, and they are also super potent antioxidants. They have a ridiculously high ORAC value, and yet they work on different kinds of oxidative stress than do the polyphenols in aronia. So that's why human beings have to eat all the colors of the rainbow. We've seen the commercials on TV of you can't just focus on one, you can't just eat spinach the rest of your life,
Right.
even though it's healthy. You need the blue colors, you need the red colors, you need the orange colors, you need the yellow colors. We need all these different colors to live a long and healthy life because different polyphenols behave differently in the body. And that's like if you're going to have an army that attacks your enemies, why would you just have foot soldiers and give them all identical guns? Wouldn't you have foot soldiers and tanks? And wouldn't you have aircraft
Yeah.
and boats? And wouldn't you have different kinds of weapons? And wouldn't you have strategists? And wouldn't you have drones? And I mean, why wouldn't you have all these different kinds of activity to keep you safe from the enemy? And that's the thing with antioxidants is they might be super powerful, but they only work via one avenue.
Right.
So when you start mixing them up, like when you put the aronia berry with the clinical OPC grapeseed extract, which is a super powerful product in and of itself, then you're getting a broader spectrum of being able to prevent that constant free radical damage that our bodies are exposed to. It's good for everything. But one of the things I really love it for is cardiovascular, because when we look at the published clinical studies on both the aronia berry and also on the grapeseed extract, we see that they have a lot of benefits for cardiovascular disease. So, for blood pressure especially, this is a great combination to help with healthy blood pressure. Circulatory, oh my gosh, there was a study on placebo versus aronia. It was a 3-month study. A lot of this research is done in Europe, as I said, because aronia is just not as well known in the US. And what they found is a whopping increased dilation of blood flow. Let's just say it improved circulation about 10 times better than the placebo group. When
Wow.
they looked at reducing triglycerides, I'm not all about cholesterol reduction. I don't think that the
Right.
total number really tells the story. But I do believe that triglycerides are troublesome and that a reduction for most people, especially if you're carrying a few extra pounds, is a good thing. In only 1 month of use of aronia berry, they saw a 22% reduction in triglyceride levels. So another way that it participates in helping our hearts to stay strong and healthy. Remember when I said that and the super athletes use up their antioxidants
Yes.
faster? So they looked at oxidation levels of elite soccer players,
Right.
that where they took Aronia for 90 days versus placebo. Other groups took placebo. There was a huge difference when they looked at oxidation levels in the group that took the Aronia berry every single day versus the group that was taking placebo every
Wow.
single day. So what better way to protect yourselves, even if you're not a super athlete, but maybe you've got a lot of cardiovascular health concerns in your family, or maybe your blood pressure is starting to creep up, or maybe your doctor's starting to talk to you about your blood sugar. I mean, this works across the board. These two ingredients work across the board to help against all of those health concerns.
Amazing. We could spend 2 hours just
We
diving
could,
deeper and
we
deeper and
could.
deeper on just Aronia and French grapeseed extract. The key here is antioxidant protection, folks, cardiovascular assistance, even the reducing high blood pressure. It's one of the most commonly prescribed medications in North America is blood pressure medications, the amlodipines, the lisinoprils, hydrochlorothiazide, all these different medications. So let me touch base on where the Aronias are coming from. It looks like Europe. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. As I
That's
said, now
where
the,
exactly? Where in Europe?
around Poland usually,
Okay.
but there's other places in Europe that grow aronia berries. But the founder and president of our company, Terry Lemerond, who's been in this industry for a very long time, an absolute legend. Love him. He's good at everything, but he's not much of a gardener. This is not a guy who's
Oh,
going to be putting on the overalls and going outside. He's probably going to be wearing the very fancy suit and going out for a glass of red wine
yeah.
somewhere. But there's one thing that Terry Lemeron grows in his yard. He has about 20 aronia berry bushes,
Really?
and he harvests the berries every year and he freezes them, and then he has smoothies in the morning, like with protein powders and berries and whatever, and he throws this handful of frozen aronia berries into his smoothie every single morning. So he does not grow his own food. He eats very healthy, very organic, very
Right.
clean. But the only thing he grows for himself is he's got these aronia bushes, because you just can't find aronia berries very much in the United States.
That's
Hopefully, we're
interesting.
going to see that start to spread and
Right.
more people grow aronia berries.
We'd have a tough time growing those here in the Phoenix summer heat. That's for sure. Everything just dies here in the
I
summer. It's
imagine.
unbelievable.
I
Unless you
imagine.
build a greenhouse or something, Cheryl.
I guess. I
So
guess.
we're looking again at this Aronia Berry Complex here in episode 145 with Cheryl Myers representing Terry Naturally. We're highlighting an important product here, clinically studied Aronia with the French grapeseed extract to provide those OPCs to fill in the bases of what Aronia is not providing. So
Mhm.
now you're getting both polyphenols and OPCs. Is this a 2 capsule a day suggestion, or how would one approach this? This is very doable, folks. You can keep it in your office
Easy
right there.
peasy. Yeah, one or two a day is fine. We forgot to mention another place that shows up a lot of oxidative stress, our eyes.
Okay.
When you start to look at the lens of the eyes and the development of cataracts, that's all oxidative stress. There's oxidative stress involved in macular degeneration. So that again, another place that we see a lot of benefit for supporting health is in the eyes. Polyphenols are fantastic for the eyes.
Perfect. And you mentioned that's oxidative stress in particular. I'm going to add this to the show
Yes,
notes. Perfect.
absolutely.
It's kind of
Absolutely.
like rusting a piece of metal, right? It's a
Kind
good way to
of.
look at it.
That's an oxidation process.
Right. And we're not saying here don't eat blueberries, plums, strawberries, right? But add this on top of those potentially to further increase the ORAC value. Is that a good way to approach it?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like, eat your Brazil nuts, but also take selenium if you want to make sure you get enough selenium every single day. Eat oranges and tangerines and grapefruits, but in some situations you might need vitamin C every day.
Right.
So this is the same thing with aronia. As I said, you're not going to find them in grocery stores. And unless you're growing them yourself, you're probably only going to, or move to Europe, you are probably going to have to take them in supplemental form. And that's okay, because as I said, it's not an either or situation.
Right.
I personally use aronia berry, but I eat blueberries every single day. First, I love them. But second is because the compounds you just can't compare when you start to look at the health benefits of blueberries. I think that they're just enormous.
So tell us about the adulteration that's found in the field in the supplement world with grapeseed extract,
Oh
similar
my
to
gosh.
French grapeseed extract. What does this mean exactly? Adulterated grapeseed extracts, and how is the Terry Naturally Aronia Berry Complex different?
Well, one of the issues that we see is when ingredients become super popular, all of the weasels come out, not
Oh
trying
yeah.
not trying to
No, it's
disrespect
true.
weasels. Actually, the weasels I probably like better. But when we're dealing with, the people come out that don't have very good morality, that don't care who they hurt as long as they can make a buck. And they start to cheapen products by using illegal solvents or not meeting label claim or using a compound that's similar to but not the same as what they list on the label. All of these different things happen. And then it erodes confidence in the products, right? Because then there's some big expose in the New York Times, and people are like, oh,
Right.
I can't trust those supplements. So you need to work with companies that know what they're doing and they're doing the testing. Grapeseed is a very highly adulterated product out there because it's very efficacious. There's a lot of
Mm,
clinical studies proven it works, and it costs a fair amount of money. What are they using? One of the adulterants they're using are peanut skins, because peanut skins, that little red papery covering on the
yes.
outside of peanuts, are very vividly colored. So it adds color to the powder that they use.
Wow.
And they contain a lot of, remember, we talked about tannins?
Yeah.
They contain a lot of tannins. And so when you test it out, it looks like you've got a really potent grapeseed extract because those tannins are hitting in the fingerprint when you do the testing, but it doesn't detect whether or not they're coming from grape seeds or peanut skins.
Wow.
So this is ridiculous because how many people have peanut allergies?
Right.
And now you're using a peanut component and not even listing it on the label. Ours is guaranteed and authenticated as grapeseed extract because we do that extra layer of testing. We don't just look to see if it's grapeseed extract or how many OPCs does it have or how many polyphenols. No, we do extra testing to detect whether or not it's from peanut or grapeseed. And that's the only way you can determine what you've got on your hands. And so only after that testing is our raw material used in our products to prove that it does not contain any peanut skins or any other adulterant mimicking grapeseed extract.
Right. And all Terry Naturally products are manufactured by CGMP compliant facility, and no sugar, salt, yeast, wheat, gluten, soy, dairy products, artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, or artificial preservatives in products such as this one right here
Right.
by Terry Naturally. You're getting the real deal, folks. So you mentioned tannins, Cheryl, real quick. They are a type of OPC, proanthocyanidin, found in many grapeseed extracts, but the one found in this formula doesn't have the tannins in there, correct? And why is that important?
Well, it's because it's in a different form. Remember when I said that, there's no problems with having tannins. I mean, they're not unhealthy for you.
Got it.
It's just that they can't get inside. They're too big. So
I see.
while they are all OPCs, they're all in that family. The kind that we standardize for are only the smaller size. So we don't let the big ones in there. We focus on the small ones because if you've got small sized OPCs, they're going to absorb easy peasy.
Perfect. Awesome, folks. We're talking with Cheryl Myers here, breaking down the Aronia Berry Complex. Like I said, I just took one right before the show went on here with Cheryl. I'm going to take another one in a few hours. And does this matter morning, night? Can you take two at the same time? What do you approach that? Is it pretty loose?
Yes, it is pretty loose.
Okay.
I think that depending on how you're using it, if you're using it for just a daily supplementation, once a day is probably fine. If you need a little extra health support, like you're starting to develop some health concerns, I would take it twice daily to keep it more steady state in your bloodstream. I usually recommend that people take supplements with meals for two reasons. Number one, I think there's factors in food that may facilitate absorption even a little bit more. And number two, is that people forget to take their doses. And if you pair it with a meal, you're much more likely to remember to take that evening dose. So I think twice daily with your meals for the vast majority of people is more than enough to provide really significant health benefits.
Perfect. So again, cardiovascular health, is that the main thing we should be thinking of? And that's a
I
two-part
would
question. Go ahead. Yeah, let's finish that
Okay,
one
I
first.
would say for sure, cardiovascular health because of its impact on helping with blood pressure, because of its impact on reducing triglycerides, because of its impact on improving blood vessel function and blood flow. Absolutely great for the heart. But I want you to know that those very same activities, the triglycerides, blood pressure, blood vessel function, play a role in brain health as well. So heart and brain, and then the other would probably be because oxidative damage is implicated in the changes in cells to make the cells become malignant or to cause cancer in the first place. So having ample amounts of antioxidants on board every single day to arrest that oxidative damage, those free radicals, is a great way to stay healthy and hopefully avoid having to deal with cancer in the first place.
By the way, folks, if you're interested in improving the health of America, preventing oxidative stress and topics like this, giving yourself the protection you need, living as long as possible, we have the Terry Talks. Let's see if it shows up here. It's not showing up here, but the Terry Talks Nutrition newsletter. You can go to terrytalksnutrition.com, sign up for the weekly newsletter. He has his own radio show as well. You can stay in the loop with what he's researching and all kinds of great stuff there. So, inflammation's a firefighter, but oxidative stress lights the match. Explain that real quick as a good summary. Inflammation's a firefighter, but oxidative stress lights the match.
Yes, oxidative stress triggers inflammation in the body. It triggers huge amounts of inflammation in the body. So it doesn't just arise out of nowhere. You're right. It is the oxidative stress that lights the match, that all of a sudden you're consumed. And that's when you need the firefighters. That's when you need the compounds to come on board to push back against the inflammation. However, think about how more effective it would be if you could prevent that match from being struck in the first place.
Amazing. And that pretty much leads us to the end of our segment, Cheryl. What's a good take home? What's a good recap? 30 seconds to 60 seconds. What should people walk away with here today?
Yes, pay attention to what you eat. Absolutely incorporate lots and lots of plants into what you eat every single day. But remember, there's not a single antioxidant that does it all. And so it's important to get a wide spectrum. If you just want to stay healthy, using something like the Aronia combination with the grapeseed extract, one a day, is plenty to help boost a little bit, get some extra polyphenols on board. Awesome. But if you are taking this because want to have better cardiovascular health, better brain health, better cellular health, I would absolutely boost this to twice daily. And as I said, eat all the colors of the rainbow. The more colors you consume, and I'm not talking about Skittles, people. We're talking about
Right.
blueberries and blackberries and raspberries and apples and watermelon and tomatoes and carrots. The broader spectrum you eat, the healthier you and your family is going to be.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did, folks. Thanks to the wonderful Cheryl Myers and the whole team there. We appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much.